In this video, you'll learn all about vegetables for blood pressure reduction. In more detail, here's what you can expect to learn. We'll identify what are the good vegetables, as well as by how much does each of these vegetables reduce blood pressure, and how do they do it? What are the mechanisms behind it? After that, we'll discuss what are the bad vegetables. Surprise, surprise, not every vegetable is a good vegetable, and two vegetables actually raise blood pressure. You learn which two at the end of this video. Before we jump in, who am I? My name is Igor. I've been a personal trainer since 2006 with a specialty in helping people lower their blood pressure. As well, I've been presenting at personal training conferences since 2013, teaching other personal trainers in my methodology. And lastly, I've delivered over 400 presentations to some of Canada's largest corporations, including IBM, Bosch, American Express, University of Toronto, Investors Group, and others. Also, I'm the author of the Amazon best-selling book, High Blood Pressure Reversible Secrets. If you want to purchase that book, there's a description below with the Amazon link, so check that out if you're interested. If you want to learn when I publish more videos about exercise, nutrition, and high blood pressure, click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So, what are the good vegetables? One criterion for what's a good vegetable is that it's high in potassium. Here is one study titled Short-Term Randomized Controlled Trial of Increased Dietary Potassium from Potato or Potassium Gluconate, Effect on Blood Pressure, Microcirculation, Potassium, and Sodium Retention in Prehypertensive to hypertensive adults. The results were, the bottom line is that a higher intake of potatoes, 3,900 milligrams per day, reduced blood pressure by 6/1 millimeters of mercury in 12 weeks. Not bad, considering that's the only thing they changed. They didn't introduce their sodium, they didn't increase their supplements or medications, they just ate more potatoes, and that was it. Here are the potassium requirements to give you some context. Daily potassium requirements for adults range from 3,400 milligrams per day up to 4,700 milligrams per day. And so besides potatoes, what are some other vegetables that are high in potassium? Sun-dried tomatoes have 925 milligrams of potassium in a quarter cup. Regular white potatoes, 900 milligrams. Spinach, cooked spinach, but not raw spinach, has about 600 milligrams per half a cup. Additionally, avocados, half an avocado has 500 milligrams, and sweet potatoes, 540 milligrams per medium sweet potato. And here's what that looks like on a chart, okay? Here are the approximate daily requirements, as well as how all of these compare, okay? However, there are things that are not vegetables that are still high in potassium that would be beneficial for you. One example is beans. Beans, depending on the type of bean, whether it's white kidney beans, black beans, red kidney beans, etc., they're also really high in potassium at 700 to 1,000 milligrams per cup. Lentils are also quite high in potassium at 730 milligrams per cup. Coconut water, 1 cup has 600 milligrams, and half a cup of yogurt has about 550 milligrams. So again, here's what that looks like on a chart of the highest foods, regardless of whether they're vegetables or not. So beans actually come out on top, higher than any vegetable. Below that, lentils, coconut water, and yogurt. Now, why does potassium reduce blood pressure? There are two main mechanisms. One is it helps the kidneys get rid of excess sodium. It's much easier to add something to your diet than reduce something from your diet. It's easier to add potassium as opposed to remove sodium. Now, if you do both, that's even better. The other thing that potassium does is it relaxes blood vessels, allowing them to open up so you have a larger diameter of an artery. The next criteria for foods that lower blood pressure is that they are high in magnesium. Here's one meta-analysis titled Effects of Magnesium Supplementation on Blood Pressure. The results were that magnesium supplementation reduced blood pressure by 2/2 millimeters of mercury in hypertensive individuals. Now, that doesn't seem like a very high number. However, consider that usually the higher the dose, the greater the reduction, and the higher the starting blood pressure, the greater the reduction. Somebody who has a blood pressure of 150 over 90 will have a much larger reduction than somebody who's got 125 over 85. And so what are the daily requirements for magnesium? Depending on a few different factors, they range from 300 to 500 milligrams per day. And if you're wondering which vegetables are high in magnesium, here are some of them. Acorn squash has 88 milligrams in 1 cup. Lima beans have 81 milligrams in a cup. Cooked spinach, but not raw spinach, half a cup is 78 milligrams. Swiss chard, half a cup is 75 milligrams. And here's what that looks like compared to daily requirements. Okay, so all of them are about 1/5 of the daily requirements. So if you have 2 of those per meal, you should be good to go. However, there are things that are not vegetables that are still high in magnesium. Um, and so things like black beans or pumpkin seeds are quite high magnesium, 150 milligrams of magnesium per 30 grams. That's 2 tablespoons. Next, black beans are quite high in magnesium, 120 milligrams. Quinoa is quite high, 118 milligrams. Brazil nuts, 106 milligrams per 6 nuts. And edamame beans, per 100 milligrams per cup. So things that actually aren't vegetables are higher magnesium than things that are vegetables. And finally, here we are at something else, a couple other things. Now, why does magnesium reduce blood pressure? There are a few different mechanisms. One is it counteracts calcium in smooth muscles. Calcium causes muscles to contract. Magnesium counteracts that and therefore causes them to relax. It reduces stress and anxiety, which lowers cortisol and adrenaline. It's also anti-inflammatory, and it maintains the proper transmission of electrical signals within the heart. Another criterion for foods that can lower blood pressure is that they are high in nitrates. Here is a study titled Dietary Nitrate Lowers Ambulatory Blood Pressure in Treated Uncontrolled Hypertension. That means they're getting medications for blood pressure and it's still not going down. Here were the results. A diet high in nitrates lowered blood pressure by 8 over 4 millimeters of mercury in 7 days. This is very, very powerful. Again, they're not doing anything else here. They're not doing supplements. They're not adding in potassium, magnesium, or reducing sodium. They're just eating more nitrates. And if you're wondering which foods are high in nitrates, here are some of the best sources: beets, spinach, and celery. There are no daily requirements for nitrates, so we can't compare that. But other vegetables that are high in nitrates are arugula, carrots, Swiss chard. And how do they work? Well, what they do is, one, vasodilation. That means they open up blood vessels. They also reduce arterial stiffness. Arteries should be nice, flexible, and loose, but when they get stiff, they can't expand and contract as well. So what nitrates do is they reduce arterial stiffness. As well, they decrease platelet aggregation. Platelets are specific chemicals that increase clotting. And so when they all come together, they kind of block an artery, and therefore they decrease the diameter of the artery. It's almost like creating a dam in a river. It increases the pressure. And another criterion is foods that are high in omega-3. Some examples would be salmon, sardines, anchovies, mackerel. Now, again, there's no vegetables that are high in omega-3. So because of that, I couldn't put that in there. But I didn't want you to miss out on the benefits of omega-3s just because vegetables are not the foods that are high in omega-3. And how do omega-3s work? Very similar to a few of the other ones is vasodilation. They open up blood vessels. As well, they are anti-inflammatory. So they help you reduce inflammation. They also increase blood flow to the heart, and they decrease a hormone called angiotensin. Angiotensin is a hormone that contracts smooth muscles, which are the ones that surround arteries. And if it's decreased, it opens up blood vessels. Those are the mechanisms. There are also miscellaneous foods that aren't high in potassium or magnesium or nitrates or omega-3, but they are very, very powerful for blood pressure reductions. One is garlic, which is good for just about anything, and you need a minimum of 3 cloves of garlic per day. There are also bad vegetables. Not every vegetable helps you lower your blood pressure. The bad vegetables are anything pickled or salty like, well, pickles and olives. As well, it's more about the cooking method. So anything that is cooked in high sodium ingredients like soy sauce and stir fry will turn a good vegetable into a bad vegetable. And again, pickles and olives aren't really cooked in soy sauce or stir fry, but they'll still raise your blood pressure because they're very, very high in sodium. And again, what can you expect if you combine all of these factors? If you combine the high magnesium, potassium, omega-3, and nitrates, one of the people who read my book, High Blood Pressure Reversal Secrets, she was able to lower her blood pressure from emergency high to high normal in a matter of 1 week. And if you'd like to purchase the book, just click on the link in the description below.